Given that Wood Elves are known for having some of the best skirmishers in the game, it's a bit odd that I've never done a unit highlight about Deepwoods Scouts, but here we are, one of the best skirmishers in the game. I would say that in terms of infantry skirmishers, Wood Elves have two of the best, being Way Watchers and Deepwood Scouts. Deepwood Scouts are a very cost-effective mid-tier option, massive range at 180 with 360 shooting on the move, decent missile strength, okay AP. 4 AP is not incredible, but their accuracy means that basically 100% of their shots will hit. Typically, they do actually, of course, as soon as I say that, just whiff on a few full volleys there on those Knights of the Blazing Sun. This between Coops and Wolfsbane, two of my patrons. Coops taking the Wood Elves here. Got Orion with some Wild Riders, Great Stag Knights, and Glade Riders. So a very small build, very tall, you could say, in some ways. A low model count with Sloix Tricksters and some Deepwood Scouts. On the Empire side here, the Knights of Blazing Sun, Empire Knights, some Huntsmen, Volkmar leading the way, Swordsmen and Spearmen. A pretty meta build, honestly. Competitive is what I would say. Bright Wizard, Burning Head, Flaming Sword of Ruin. We're going to get a big engagement over here as the Knights of Blazing Sun and the Empire Knights commit to try and take out the Deepwood Scouts. Blade Riders, Great Stag Knights, going to get that Horn of the Wild Hunt for additional charge bonus charge in here and do a ton of damage to one unit of Empire Knights at the very least. But the Huntsmen are returning fire pretty cost effectively. Huntsmen are another one of those really great kind of mid-tier infantry skirmisher units, but the Deepwood Scouts, if they stay at their maximum range, can outrange them. Right now, they are somewhat within range and taking some return fire, but over here, these Empire Knights miss the opportunity to get a charge on the Glade Riders and the Wild Riders. Both players kind of prioritizing their micro over here, which is understandable. You know, got Orion over here threatening, dropping some terror potentially. And the Wild Riders, the Stag Knights also over here, quite a bit of value. And also just trying to take out those Deepwood Scouts. You can see as they concentrate fire, they could just wipe units super quickly. That Elven accuracy definitely coming into play. Of course, you also have the Swift Shiver Shard variant. We don't see any of here, but they have double shot, having a extra DPS, a little bit of healing on these Great Stag Knights, it looks like. No, on just the regular Wild Riders, they do still have 29 unit models. Looks like this was maybe fought on Ultra unit sizes. That's interesting. Anyway, the Deepwood Scouts set and still firing, but the low model count of this Wood Elven army mean it's going to be pretty tough to protect them continuously. Even just infantry pushing back and trying to at least screen them away will keep them out of range of Volkmar, who's a pretty high-value target. We're going to see Orion charge in here, utilize that anti-large AP and melee. Orion really needs to throw his javelins, though, to get good value. You can see he does kind of chuck one as he's running after Volkmar there, but I mean, you could even have him sit back somewhat. He is somewhat at danger of being shot up by these Huntsmen, though. The anti-large bows of the Huntsmen will do quite a bit of extra damage to Orion. He has physical resistance to begin with, right? 20% and no missile resistance to speak of, right? Low armor. Well, that anti-large bows of the Huntsman will do substantial damage to him. You can see as he gets focused down there, going to be pretty rough. A little bit of an Earthblood to try and keep him fighting, but the pressure from the Deepwood Scouts really needs to be put on the Huntsman right now, and right there, again, just being continuously screened out by these low-tier shielded infantry, which means they're having to dedicate ammunition to taking them out. Orion does manage to get away here. Horn of the Wild Hunt is popped. This other cavalry engagement over here ends up playing out over some time. Some spearmen are able to come in reinforce for the Empire, and they end up winning this engagement. Although they do take some losses, it's still pretty cost-effective for them. We'll see, though. Volkmar in the late game versus Orion. That magic damage will help against physical resistance, but of course, once Cloak of Isha is active, he'll get straight up damage resistance as he gets some healing as well. 8 hit points per second, so a substantial amount of healing. And this Empire army has burst damage in its Huntsman, but if Coops can come in here and shut down the Huntsman, he's got this Great Stag Knight still online with the regrowth. The Empire Cavalry still kind of tied up here. Could try and charge back and respond to the Stag Knights, but at least for the time being, they are just wrecking these Huntsmen, trying to equalize this fight as best they can. Having a grand old Christmas time. No one told them that the holidays are over. They're still out for blood. Anyway, Meanwhile, Orion over here just kind of struggling. Again, Volkmar, because he has relatively low weapon strength, you would think, like, oh yeah, the magic damage, yes, against physical resistance, but that damage resistance, a little bit of extra Earthblood as well, will kind of keep Orion with even more healing, right? So he should be just fine. I don't think Volkmar necessarily has the burst to actually get through him without the support of the Huntsman, but we'll see. Over time, he could just grind him down, and with the Spear support kind of getting in some extra little hits there, so one unit of Huntsman in range to start firing. Stagmites are desperately trying to get over, while this pocket of Deepwood Scouts still just continues to fire. They've managed to use up most of their ammunition at this point. He's been keeping them fairly well concentrated, but if we look at the values here, a lot of them probably ended up not paying for themselves because they were forced to kind of shoot at low-tier infantry, low-tier shielded infantry. They're pretty close. A lot of them might pay for themselves in this late game if they can get some hits on these Huntsmen, but a little bit of banishment. Not sure exactly what that was used on, but oh man, this could be a nasty Burning Head at Coops. Oh, it's pretty tough to dodge Burning Head in the first place. He had just about used up all of his ammunition, but this unit in particular loses about what, 6 models there maybe? Hard to say, but just getting some more hits on the Empire Knights. So the unit of Knights of the Blazing Sun over on the far side there is sweeping over, and they're pretty big danger, but it looks like Volkmar actually got taken down by Orion when I was paying attention to the Deepwood Scouts. Not really too many surprises there. I mean, anti-large AP of Orion in melee with the Stag Knights, pretty understandable how they could take him out. The Stag Knights themselves have racked up pretty insane value, 2,000 damage value there. So keeping them out of reach of the Empire Cavalry, you know, utilizing that speed to really kind of hit and run on various targets and just roll up a good portion of the army there has helped, but the balance power is still very heavily in Empire's favor, as there's a number of quite healthy units left here. Knights of the Blazing Sun coming in. We've also got some more Huntsmen lurking there in the distance, a few more here in the foreground. But we'll watch these Knights of the Blazing Sun. They're going to eat a side charge here from the Stag Knights, along with Orion. They are not immune to Psychology, so they could get terror routed here. Their leadership gets too low, but for the time being, they are holding firm. And, oh man, another nasty Burning Head coming in here. Lore of Fire is just so strong. Burning Head's got to be one of the best spells in the game. Has been for quite some time. One more regrowth on the Stag Knights. Will it be enough to hold their leadership? The Knights of Blazing Sun do manage to tear out. The Stag Knights are going to try and get back here and maybe just rout off the Bright Wizard, rather. But honestly, they could probably just come in here and charge out these Huntsmen. The Huntsmen are by far the most dangerous target for the Stagmites themselves and for Orion. Like, yes, these low-tier spears are a little bit dangerous. The Knights of Blazing Sun are pretty dangerous, too. You can see they're going to charge in here. That high charge bonus, they'll probably do some pretty good damage to the Stag Knights, and they do. Oof, yeah, that might be enough to actually finish things. We'll see. Orion, again, throwing his spears, the Bright Wizard. Maybe an attack from him might finish these Knights of Blazing Sun. He does manage to tear out the Bright Wizard. And now Orion is going to switch over to the Knights. Hopefully, no, they actually managed to finish off the Stag Knights, which is unfortunate before he gets there. But Spellsinger's still alive, got that Opal Amulet active, and Orion, again, without the high burst, this Empire army will struggle to finish him off. Got some more Wild Riders coming in, but we'll fast forward a little bit as Orion makes his final stand. He's going to charge in here, start to terror out various units, and the terror will definitely be a factor here. The Empire units are still going to be suffering from that Lord recently died leadership debuff, but these Knights of the Blazing Sun at 78 charge, even though there's only 19 unit models, that's still enough to get us around on Orion and possibly get enough burst damage and finish him off. We'll keep his HP kind of up here. You can see the spears are maybe enough in and of themselves just to take him out in this late game. The fact that he's exhausted means that, you know, percentage-wise he's suffering more, but they're kind of holding right around the 500 mark down below. Ooh, yeah. Then when the charge comes in, you can see it just drops there down below 200, and that should be it. Orion going down here. Will spell victory for the Empire. Probably immediately the Spellsinger is going to hit army losses. No, actually, she comes in here and gets a little bit of a rear charge. The Terror kicks in for the Knights of the Blazing Sun, but I would imagine, yeah, once they come back, the spears turn to attack the Spellsinger. A really, really close game at the end of the day. I think from a build perspective, you know, I kind of get what he was going for with the bows and the cavalry, but the model count is just low enough that it's going to be hard to not get screened out, like exactly what happened here with these kind of low-tier shielded infantry, to just be able to kind of advance on the bows, force them to use a lot of their shots on these lesser value units. And again, a couple of them ended up just about paying for themselves. I mean, they all do a pretty decent job. It's not like they were completely worthless, but it's just you need a little bit more damage out of them, and specifically on the Huntsman here against this build, and just the ability of Wolfsbane to screen out. You can see a lot of these state troops also are pretty cost effective, the low tier spears especially, fighting the unarmored large of the Wood Elves. One reason why trees can sometimes be okay here as sort of a semi-mobile screening force. They're not quite as fast as Empire heavy cavalry, but they are faster than Empire infantry. So, yeah, I don't know. You could retune a few things here, perhaps. Maybe cut even one of the Deepwood scouts and maybe one of the Wild Riders and try and take some more numbers. Maybe a couple of Dryads. Dryads are tricky, though. They'll kind of get just charged out by Knights of Blazing Sun. In general, I understand the thought of not bringing too much infantry here and just trying to draw the Empire out, but just think you need a little bit more kind of counterpunch perhaps here. And again, maybe the trees are a better screening force than the Wild Riders because they can actually hold up against Empire cavalry a little bit longer. Like, yes, Knights of the Blazing Sun will do more damage to them if they get a side or rear charge, but the bracing bonus for the trees actually works now. They do have charge defense against large, so if the Knights of the Blazing Sun are charging them from the front while the trees are braced, they're not going to do very much damage to them at all, right? So the physical resistance also kind of counteracts the weakness to fire, and there's some other considerations, but in general I would say that the trees are pretty underrated in this matchup. You just have to keep them supported as much as you can. It's interesting. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, but Orion definitely pretty strong. He had been able to stay alive a little bit longer. He probably could have carried in that late game there. That's great. Stag Knights also. They can get loose in an army. They're obviously very, very strong, especially with the synergy from the Horn of the Wild Hunt. Love to see that. Volkmar getting taken out by Orion's pretty good. But again, just the Huntsman coming in and just cleaning up shop, clearing out the woods, so to speak, fulfilling their job, I guess. That's literally what they're paid for, right? Anyway, very fun game. Big thanks to Coop for sending that one in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And just to finish up here on Deepwood Scouts, I know it wasn't exactly a unit highlight for them. I may end up making the title about something else. We'll see. Sometimes I decide after the fact what the title should be. But anyway, just to kind of finish up with Deepwood Scouts. So generally very cost effective. They can shoot at kind of whatever targets you need them to, and they'll do pretty well. Again, the AP is not amazing, so against like purely armored factions like dwarfs, doesn't make as much sense, but especially mixed armor factions like Empire, the fact that they outrange pretty much any other archer, like even like Bretonnian archers, right, are 160 range. Same for the Huntsman. Come in here and look at High Elves. I think High Elven archers might be, yeah, 180 range, so they can match a range, but like even the Lothern Sea Guard cannot. Sisters of Avalorn it's very cost effective to trade into because with the stock and the 360 shooting, these sort of static high elven skirmishers, right, you can kind of run forward into their lines, release a volley, and then run back out, and do that a lot more efficiently than these regular archers can. And in doing so, dodge a lot of the return fire. It takes a little bit of micro, but the stock and the Vanguard also help in that respect as well. Faster speed, I mean, 38 speed is maybe actually the same. Yeah, just slightly faster. I thought they were 40. I guess we all learned something today. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button every time I upload a new video. You'll be notified. Thanks again. See you next time.